Boker Tov. I am on my driveway doing my morning walk, and want to just mention some thoughts on the Shema. Now, of course, this is a prayer that is very much a credo for Jews. It's one that most Jews know at least the first of the three paragraphs, I'll say, by heart, and many others the moment they're in shul or in a place where they're reciting the Shema with others can pretty fluently stay with it. Even if they don't read Hebrew, even if they don't speak Hebrew, they are pretty likely to be very comfortable reciting the Shema. Now, this is a prayer that much has been taught about by great sages, old and new, contemporary rabbis and the like. So I just had some thoughts I'd share as quickly as I can. And pardon my breathing, as you know, as I walk up and down my driveway for exercise, I breathe too. Gotta breathe. You know what happens if you don't breathe. Yeah, gotta breathe. So if I ever stop breathing while I'm doing these videos, you'll know. Okay, because the video will stop too. Anyway, it's repeated over and over again to put these words of the Shema, put this prayer in your heart. And that concept of writing it on your heart, putting it in your heart, and all your heart. It's not some of your heart. It's not a part of your heart. It's all your heart. And we see this concept throughout all three verses. And the first two verses, the verses have both an inward and an outward element to them. And the inward element directs the outward element. As far as I'm concerned, it's the notion that if you put God in your heart, all your heart, then outwardly, whether it's through the words you use, the way we raise our family, the way we act in this world, even our outward appearance with the tassels, all these things will represent us and what is in our heart. Whereas if our heart goes astray, as the third paragraph warns, that's not cool. So it's the idea that the outside world is going to tempt us. The flesh is going to be tempted by the world. And the tzitzit is a reminder of the things that God has done for us and of what God expects from us as a parent, as Hashem. And that if we follow this our way through our heart, from our heart, we're going to have blessings, and that comes by the classic rain and other ways in which God blesses us in the world. And conversely, if our heart goes astray, we go astray. Okay, you can drag a big bull or a horse far stronger than us around by its nose or a bit. In a way, our heart is what leads us, right? In marketing and sales, there's an old expression: people buy with emotion and justify it with logic, right? So we'll find the excuses, we'll find the reasons. If our heart goes astray, the rest of us will follow. And I think the Shema is a reminder, is a proclamation, is a credo that if God chose us, we're on God's heart. We're on God's heart. We're in God's heart. And God is in our heart. If that's the case, then there's a communication basis. Then, heart to heart, we are able to have a relationship. The words inform us, the words guide us, the words um, are expressions of God. They're lessons from God. But, there are people that know a lot of Torah that don't do the right thing, okay? Because why? It's not in their heart. And there are people that know, I'll say, no Torah and do the right thing because God is on their heart. You might say that the heart is the conscience, okay? And, when we talk about the things, the mysteries of this world, consciousness is still a mystery. Biologically, we can explain a lot of things, but awareness and conscience is a very hard thing to explain, okay? And so oftentimes with religion, we're talking about morality. People that do, having the morals to do the right thing. And how do we know whether we're doing the right thing? Well, God explains that, right? God articulates that through his laws, right from wrong, and the knowledge that we have in the Garden of Eden. But if you think about it, here we are outside the Garden of Eden. But what's the way back is, of course, the tree of life, the Torah. But if we put that concept of that relationship, we in the Garden of Eden didn't need to be told what was right and wrong, because God was the ultimate authority. As a parent and as a little child, we just took it for granted what we should do. We did what we just instinctively knew until we went astray, until the serpent led us astray. And our flesh, our desires, and perhaps our quest for ego and all that, we led astray. And we fell from grace, you could say. But we certainly were kicked out of the garden, right? But here we are. If we could put God on our heart, which is to put the Torah in our heart. Now, the heart is not an instrument of logic. It's an instrument of feeling. And while the ancient times, the heart was the mind, I think the Shema is not talking about intellectualizing this. I think the Shema is talking about the truth and the true heart, okay, and our true love, okay, and that's truth. The truth that we love our God, and we think of who we love all the time. So if you love a child or a spouse or whatever, they're on your mind because they're in your heart. If we put the words that God gives us on our heart, everything else will fall into place. And if we take it out of our heart, it doesn't matter what the words say. We may have a legal argument. We may do what's right for fear of the law, okay, for fear of punishment. But isn't it so much better to act out of love? Okay, when God saw that Abraham, when the angels saw that Abraham feared the Lord, okay, feared God, I think the Abraham recognized, or the angels saw and recognized, how connected Abraham is to his maker, to the most powerful, the only one in the universe, the creator. Okay, so once they recognized that awe was in his heart, okay, then the obedience didn't need to go any further. It didn't need to go any further. In fact, they stopped it. The angels stopped the act of sacrificing Isaac, because it was clear to God and everybody else that he passed the test, but it was quite clear how elevated God was in the heart of Abraham. So elevated that he was willing to give his own son. Okay? And where was Isaac in this? Well, Isaac, being about 30 years old and probably quite aware of what was going on, went right along with it. How could he do that? How does any man willingly go to his death at the hands of his father? Unless He knows. Unless there's communication going on with Isaac at the very same time. Perhaps Isaac already knew what was in store for him. And he could face that trial, that test, as he did. When he said Father, maybe he wasn't talking to Abraham. Maybe Isaac was talking to God. Maybe Isaac had a conversation going on in his heart even before, when God was there in that beginning. All right, there are some thoughts on the Shema and a little bit of the Akedah in the spirit of what's coming up, these days of awe. Shabbat Shalom. Oh no, it's not Shabbat, just Shalom Shalom.